Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I have 3 articles in this episode, and the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. First one here is off Natural News, and it says Mexico continues to outlaw Monsanto's GMO corn. Plans of spreading their GMO seeds continue to be obstructed, at least in other countries. For example, in Mexico, a ban on GMO corn is likely to be upheld for years while an uphill legal battle rages on. Just last week, Mexico court chose to uphold 2013 ruling that followed a legal challenge on the effects of GMO crops have on the environment, which temporarily put a stop on GMO corn growing, including pilot plots. Monsanto's regional corporate director, Laura Tamayo, commented, "It's going to take a long while for all of the evidence to be presented. I think we're talking years. The cost of yellow corn imports are expected to rise by more than 20% in the next season, thanks to increasing production costs and the peso growing weaker. Self-sufficient when it comes to the country's white corn, they rely on GMO corn that comes from the United States to feed the livestock." Monsanto buys for Mexico. Several years ago, Monsanto reportedly submitted 2 applications to grow GMO corn commercially in Mexico's northwestern Sonora. The region is known for being the country's largest corn-producing area, and Monsanto wanted a huge chunk of it. Both applications requested 1.7 million acres of land, and both applications are still pending approval. Hopefully, that day never comes. While Monsanto hails itself as the agricultural business, we all know that the truth is that the company does anything but help farmers. They've been destroying real farming for the last few decades. Supposedly, Monsanto, primarily business in Mexico, is developing and selling conventional corn seeds and vegetable seeds. But Tamayo says the company is committed to defending the so-called benefits of GM crops on what she calls scientific grounds. If they really wanted to defend the seed with science, they'd permit independent research on their products now, wouldn't they? According to Tamayo, the corporation didn't feel the need to try to convince consumers that their products were good for years. Instead, they focused on the farmers. She allowed environmental organizations to take over the debate. "We made a mistake. It's just that simple. For 18 years, we did not explain to the consumer what is biotechnology, what it is, or what's it for, and why is it safe." Critics might argue that their true mistake lies in the creation of Monsanto as a whole rather than their failure to try to brainwash the public more openly. Opponents of GMO crops believe that these modified corn seeds could contaminate heirloom varieties and that the pesticides used to protect GMO crops are harmful to beneficial insects like bees, which have in record numbers. Community advocates state that Mexico's 59 varieties of native corn will be at risk if Monsanto is allowed to take hold of the corn market. Monsanto has already ruined their other countries. Look no further than India if you wish to see the true effects of Monsanto's monopoly on agriculture. Farmer suicide rates in India have skyrocketed, and one of the causes is the biotech giant's impossible seed monopoly. Lots of things changed when Monsanto entered India. For example, in 2013, they reportedly controlled some 95% of the cottonseed market in the country. And what about the seeds? Seeds have always been a resource for farmers, but Monsanto claimed them as intellectual property and began collecting royalties on their products. Monsanto also sought to change farming practices on the whole, eliminating open pollinated cotton seeds, demanding monoculture farming techniques, and even subverting India's own regulatory process. In fact, biotech corporations even managed to use public resources to promote its non-renewable hybrids and GMOs with help of public-private partnerships. Monsanto's creation of seed monopolies and profit-seeking royalty collection, combined with the outright destruction of any alternatives, has left farmers in India devastated. debt, stress, and suicide run rampant under Monsanto's rule. Data from Indian government even suggests this. Some 75% of rural debt is attributed to purchase inputs, which likely suggest that as farmer debt grows, so do Monsanto's profits. An internal advisory by the Agricultural Ministry of India in January of 2012 noted cotton farmers are in deep crisis since shifting to Bt cotton. The spate of farmer suicides in 2011 through 2012 has been particularly severe among Bt cotton farmers. Monsanto loves to claim that they are in business to help farmers, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Article that I have for you is also off of Natural News. It says exhaustive Rand Corporation review of vaccine side effects finds strong evidence that vaccines cause Guillain-Barre syndrome, malaria, seizures, meningitis, encephalitis, and more. A little-known vaccine safety review published by Rand Corporation in 2014 and labeled as Rand External Publication reveals that vaccines are almost certainly causing serious permanent damage in some children. Titled Safety of Vaccines Used for Routine Immunization in the United States, the analysis was published in Evidence Report Technology Assessment number 215. See the executive summary of this analysis at this link, so you can click on that to look at that analysis. It says it's authored by Margaret Magdalene, Courtney A. Gidgen-Gill, I guess it's pronounced, Ropamunda Dawes, Laura Rayan, Alexandria Smith, Rima Cherry, Sydney Newberry, Roberta M. Shuman, Tanja Perry, Matthew Bidwell goes. As a starting point, the paper takes for granted Medicine's 2011 pro-vaccine paper titled Adverse Effects of Vaccines, Evidence and Casualty. The IOM, of course, has already been exposed for researchers having financial ties to the vaccine industry, bringing into question the IMO's neutrality on the issue of vaccine safety. Yet even when Rand accepts the IOM position as trustworthy, Rand's own researchers independently find that vaccines cause serious permanent side effects in some children. This is even true when the Rand analysis excludes most toxic vaccines that have been discontinued, as stated in the executive summary of the paper. Studies using formulations never available or discontinued in the United States were excluded at the first text review. An example is the H5N1 vaccine, vaccines with the squalene adjuvant AS03 and BCG vaccine against tuberculosis. This means that vaccines which were found to be so damaging that they were pulled from the market are not included in the analysis below. Thus, the real story here is that vaccines have been causing a great number of serious adverse events than even this Rand analysis admits. Shocking, the entire database of voluntary reported vaccine adverse events was excluded from this analysis, meaning the conclusions vastly underestimate real-world vaccine side effects, as stated in the executive summary. Surveillance systems, such as the U.S. Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, are crucial in identifying signals regarding AEs post-licensure, but they are not designed to assess statistical association, so were excluded from the project. Even when VAERS or VAERS data were excluded, and most toxic vaccines were excluded because they were pulled from the market, the analysis still finds convincing evidence that links vaccines to a vast array of neurological and biological disorders. Keep in mind that this analysis also excludes any consideration of real-world vaccine catastrophes, such as 75% of the children being hospitalized after routine vaccinations in a small town in Mexico. high evidence for seizures, um, arthralgia, I guess that's how it's pronounced, Malaysia, uh, GBS, and more. According to the RAND analysis, strength of evidence, or SOE, was determined for MMR vaccine causing asflexics and febrile seizures in children under 5. Results table. Evidence convincingly supports causal relationships with febrile seizures and anaphylaxis. Evidence convincingly supports a causal relationship with measles, including body encephalitis in immunocompromised patients. Evidence favors acceptance of causal relationship between MMR and transient arthralgia. The flu shot causing arthralgia, malaise, fever and pain at injection site. Arthralgia, as defined as sharp, severe pain extending along the nerve group or group of nerves experienced in a joint and or joints. The 2009 monovalent H1N1 vaccine causing GBS, a severe nervous system disorder. Flu shots not causing cardiovascular events in the elderly. MMR vaccines not causing autism spectrum disorders, yet the abstract also admits the data are sketchy. The vast majority of studies either did not investigate or could not identify risk factors for adverse events associated with vaccination. Similarly, the severity of AEs was inconsistently reported, as was the information that would make independent determination possible. Chickenpox vaccines, having high strength of evidence for causing pneumonia, meningitis, and hepatitis in some individuals, along with vaccine viral strain reactivation, leading to infections that cause meningitis or encephalitis in some immunocompromised individuals. It says from the results table published in the study, and you can click the link there to see the study. High anaphylaxis disseminated OKA-VZV without other organ involvement. OKA-VZV with subsequent infection resulting in pneumonia, meningitis, or hepatitis in individuals with demonstrated immunodeficiencies, vaccine strain viral reaction without other organ involvement. Vaccine strain viral reaction with subsequent injection resulting in meningitis or encephalitis. Evidence was also found to be of moderate strength linking influenza vaccines to febrile seizures. DTaP, IPV, HIV vaccinations were also linked with febrile seizures with moderate association ranking. Keep in mind that the entire pro-vaccine fake science media automatically labeled anyone who claims vaccines caused any harmful whatsoever to be anti-science. Yet the RAND analysis reaches the exact same conclusion as vaccine critics. Even when swallowing the IOM's report as a biased pro-vaccine starting point, it is irrefutable that vaccines cause serious harm in some children. Any person who denies that simple truth is not a scientist. It seems the entire media owns vaccine skeptics a serious apology. Some vaccines are associated with serious adverse events. On about that for a while, talking about the seriousness of this stuff. Has no claim to be based on scientific reality at all. Harmful medical interventions must not be mandated in free society. Talks about that. The SB 277 must be repealed and vaccine choice rights must be reestablished for parents across America. We really like to see that come into play. There's a table here that gives a summary. Safety of vaccines used for routine immunization of adults, including pregnant women and children. And you might want to take a look at that. It means a lot about these vaccines. And let's see, about the vaccine, and then it gives conclusions and strength of evidence, and you know what problems they'll cause, the IOM findings, and the additional findings from the EPC. Then scroll down past that. That's a very inclusive table. Okay, yeah, and that's how it ends up. So if you want to take a look at that, you can pull that article up. It's pretty inclusive on these vaccines, but they really need to repeal all that so that people get to make their own choices about what they want to do on the vaccines. Kid, you know, we were vaccinated, but it was, you know, you got vaccinated for measles, mumps, and chicken pox, and polio. Now they vaccine for, like, I don't know how many millions of things that they're shooting kids up with these days. It's no wonder it's causing problems. And the final article that I have here is off Natural News, and it says CDC cronyism exposed. Scientists with integrity call out the agency's corrupt industry ties. According to its mission statement, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, conducts critical science to protect Americans against health threats, but can, deep ties to various industries, really conduct research and formulate policy in a critical and biased manner. The Alliance for Natural Health USA, the ANH USA, says no. In fact, the ANH USA has repeatedly uncovered evidence of industry influence on agency, for example, that of food corporation giant Coca-Cola. Barbara Bowman, director of the Division for Heart Disease and Stroke Prevention, recently resigned her post at the CDC after long-term connection with Coca-Cola was made public. Bowman was once senior nutritionist at Coca-Cola and has been accused of granting favors to lobby group backed by beverage maker. According to the ANH USA, Coca-Cola was able, with Bowman's help, to influence the setting of WHO sugar limits. Now, the ANH USA reports that a group of ethically minded scientists with the CDC have sent a letter to the CDC chief of staff voicing their concerns rampant corporate influence over the agency. CDC Spider exposes influence from outside parties and rogue interests. The group calls itself CDC Scientists Preserving Integrity, Diligence, and Ethics in Research, CDC Spider. And the introduction of their letter reads as follows. We are a group of scientists at CDC that are very concerned about the current state of ethics at our agency. It appears that our mission is being influenced and shaped by outside parties and rogue interests. It seems that our mission and congressional intent for our agency is being circumvented by some of our leaders. What concerns us most is that it is becoming more the norm and not the rare exception. The letter describes several troubling examples of conflict and of interest and influence from outside agency, including the Bowman and others. The fact that the group of scientists from within the agency found it necessary to take such an action is strong evidence that such influence actually exists, promoting ANH USA to ask, are vaccine manufacturers influencing CDC leaders concerning childhood vaccinations as we long believed? Are potential whistleblowers being threatened and silenced to protect industry interests? How can we put our children's health in the hands of an agency that has this level of corruption being reported by its own scientists, employees? Valid questions all, and ones which must be addressed by the CDC if the agency expects to be given any credibility at all. The industry lobbying is nothing new, and a certain level of interaction between various industries and the agencies charged with regulating them is unavoidable. Corporations should have some input in the regulatory process, and agencies should not necessarily be in conflict with their interests. Can Donald Trump fix a rigged regulatory system? However, the system has been rigged by those with deep pockets who seek to subvert agency agendas to suit their interests. Agencies such as the CDC have been deliberately infiltrated by industry insiders like Barbara Bowman, also have been tipped in the industry's favor. Far from conducting critical science, the CDC provides research the research results and regulatory guidelines that corporations such as Coca-Cola pay them for. Current CDC Director Thomas Frieden will step down this month, and President-elect Donald Trump has not yet announced his successor. It will be interesting to see how the incoming president handles the appointment and the subsequent management of the agency. Trump has indicated that he believes vaccines are linked to autism. If he appoints a new CDC director who echoes that sentiment, then the CDC could indeed be headed in an entirely new direction. The incoming president has a chance to do the right thing, draining the CDC swamp, provided he selects the right person for the job. And that's all I have for you today. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up, share it on your social media so everybody gets to enjoy the news. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not done that yet. I hope you have a beautiful day.